Hey everyone, welcome back to another video here on the channel. This week, Mazda was kind enough to send me the 2025 MX-5 Miata RF Grand Touring with the 6-speed manual transmission. And this is arguably the specification that I would want to own in the Miata if you, of course, have been subscribed and seen my MX-5 coverage last year, where they sent me the 2024 Club RF hardtop with the 6-speed manual, and that was an absolute blast to drive. I loved it. However, it was missing a few options and features that of course come standard with the Grand Touring, which I find kind of a necessary thing for the nearly $40,000 price point that this vehicle, as seen behind me, does command. So in today's video, we're gonna do this likes and dislikes a little bit differently. I'm gonna do a quick walk around tour so you guys can see this specification with the gray metallic exterior, the black leather interior, point out some of the key differences in terms of styling and some of those features throughout the walk around. Then we'll get into the dedicated likes and dislikes, which I'm gonna run through very quickly because I did make a very in-depth version last year. So make sure you guys check that video out if you guys wanna know my initial impressions of living with a Miata. This is actually gonna be the second time I've ever lived with this vehicle. And again, this is arguably the specification that I would want to own. So take a look at the RF Grand Touring in front of us. This one's finishing the machine gray metallic exterior with the black leather on the inside. Now the Grand Touring gets your choice of either tan leather or black leather on the inside, depending on the exterior color that you do choose. And for 2025, Mazda has actually rolled out a 35th special anniversary edition, I believe limited to the soft top Grand Touring only, but that comes in a specific, unique, deep maroon metallic exterior, gets the tan leather on the inside, and I believe even a tan soft top, which is different from that of the standard Grand Touring, but should have most, if not all, of the same creature comforts and amenities for that particular anniversary edition, and I think looks absolutely fantastic. Now, in addition to this, the Grand Touring has some key differences versus that of the Club RF that I tested last year, meaning that it does not get the performance pack available even as an option or standard on this trim, but does get a bunch of other creature comforts and amenities, which is why I really do like this one, and we'll point that out throughout this video, both in the walk around tour and the likes and dislikes portion. Now, starting at the front end, you will find the LED projector headlights as standard across every Miata, but the Grand Touring gets the adaptive functionality, which means the projectors do swivel with the turn of the steering wheel. And like the 2024 newer models, this receives the front end refresh with slightly different styling for the bumper cover. The daytime running lights and turn signals are now integrated into the headlamp assembly, and as a whole, just a slight revision to styling over that of the previous ND1 and ND2 Miatas. Of course, it does not get the aero kit as standard also, so you don't see any of that gloss black front lip, side skirt extensions, or the gloss black spoiler out back, but that is available as an additional upcharge for about $1,500. And other than that, just a gloss black grille with the chrome Mazda logo here on the front. Pretty standard issue stuff for the Miata. Now, coming around to the side profile, I do have the top raised. That is incredibly humid right now, so I have the AC currently on inside the vehicle, but the wheel designs are gonna be another key difference over that of some of the other trims. So these are the 17-inch gloss black and machine Grand Touring wheels wrapped in a 205/45 17-inch Bridgestone S001 summer performance tire. So still a nice quality, performance-oriented summer tire for this vehicle to give it most of the performance enhancements that you would expect for a Miata. But you can see behind the wheel, it does not get the Brembo brakes either, and that's not available on the Grand Touring. So if you want that, you do have to get a Club. However, these brakes are going to be plenty fine for stopping power on your average daily commuting situation. Incandescent turn signals on both of the front fenders. You get body color mirror caps. No turn signal integration here because obviously it's found up there, but the Grand Touring does get the auto dimming driver's side mirror as well as the interior mirror with garage home link with blind spot detection over that of the other trim levels. Proximity entry on both of the front door handles obviously, and then for the trunk release out back. And then coming towards the rear of the vehicle, you're gonna find some similar styling, just minor tweaks to the taillight assembly from that of the earlier NDs. So you get LED turn signals, brake lights, and reverse lights all up there, body color rear fascia, no aero kit back here either. You get the dual tip exhaust on the passenger side, backup cameras located square in the rear bumper with the MX-5. Sky Active G and Mazda logos, shark fin antenna with another antenna over here on the right side. And that is pretty much gonna do it here for the exterior of this vehicle. Let me know if you guys like the machine gray metallic down in the comment section below, and the slight tweaks to styling and revisions that they did do for the 2024 and newer. Now, taking a look on the interior, This one has the black leather, which is a little bit of a bummer. I would have liked to have seen the tan in person, but I think it matches the machine gray quite well. Here on the door panels, of course, Miatas get the body color accents here on the top section. So this is also going to be the paint match machine gray to the outside. The car I had last year was the nice red exterior. And then you get all of this black leather, which is all soft touch with the lighter accent stitching. Some faux carbon fiber with your power windows, mirrors, and locks. They are automatic down only windows. 9-speaker Bose premium audio system as standard. And then you have the 6-way adjustment driver's seat. Just the regular leather. It is perforated in the middle. They are going to be heated. You can see the Bose logo up there for the headrests. There's a quick look at the dashboard. To the left of the steering wheel, you get the DSC track mode because this one is a 6-speed manual Grand Touring, automatic high beam assist, traction control off. You have the safety assist volume mute, head trunk release as well as hood release. Automatic headlights with automatic rain sense wipers over there. Of course, one of the things that I have mentioned that I really like about the Grand Touring over those other trims. Go ahead and turn the AC down a little bit. And there you can see the analog and partially digital gauge cluster with the tachometer. And then you have that small digital display over on the left side, which you can cycle through using the steering wheel controls. You have safety systems, coolant level, coolant temperature, all the usual stuff there, including your trip information, fuel economy, and things like that. Nice leather wrap steering wheel, is not heated, but it does have Bluetooth audio multimedia cruise control. No adaptive cruise control unless you get the automatic Grand Touring. So this one is the 6-speed manual, which is obviously the way to go. Coming up here to the infotainment system, this is the latest iteration of that for the Miata. So I believe it's just over 11-inch in size, wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, Sirius XM, AM, FM, USB, Bluetooth inputs. And coming down here, you do have a single zone automatic climate control, which is another attribute of the Grand Touring over those other trim levels, which I have been using this week kind of off and on. I like the implementation, how it's manual in most of it, but if you set it to the auto, it obviously will automatically direct the air and the fan speed depending on the temperature that you have set. These are silver accents that are unique to the Grand Touring over some of those other trims. So there are just a few more bright touches throughout the interior over the Club and the Sport models. 6-speed manual, power hardtop with your heated seats over there on the right side with 2 USB-C charge ports. Audio multimedia controller in the center console, same as other cars. And there you can see the very small center console storage with the padded upper section, manual e-brake. Main glove box and cup holder situation is in the back, just like the car that I showcased last year. Auto dimming mirror, garage home link. And why don't we just go ahead and put the top down. It takes about 13 seconds with the vehicle running to put the top down. So for that open air experience, it's very easy to do at a stoplight, stop sign, or while rolling up to 6 miles an hour. And here on the passenger side, unfortunately, you do not get all of the same seat adjustments. You only get a 4-way manual seat over here. So no thigh support adjustment, but you can see most of the interior is going to be the same. And taking a look at the trunk, there's a nice release down there. And this is one of the attributes, of course, of the Miata that is borderline nearly useless. I do have my Manfrotto laptop camera bag as well as my tripod in here, and you can see it's taking up a good chunk of the available cargo capacity and storage. But there is going to be some roadside toolkits back here. You do have a trunk light, which you can turn manually on and off, which I do appreciate for them. And this is enough space to basically do maybe a suitcase or two, some day bags, groceries for 1 or 2 people, and that is pretty much going to be it. Now, of course, under the hood, we do have the 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder making 181 horsepower, 151 pound-feet of torque through the rear wheels only. And because this one is a Grand Touring 6-speed manual, it does get a lot of the performance bits, including the Bilstein dampers, some of the chassis bracing, the asymmetrical limited slip rear differential, which was revised and introduced for 2024 in newer vehicles. And it does also get the kinematic posture control for the rear suspension, which was, I believe, a 2023 or 2024 enhancement that they did make to MX-5 Miatas. This is a continuously improved product by them. So over the ND generation, starting out, I believe in 2016 when this car came out, there has been a number of tweaks and revisions to make this chassis and platform even better than it was when it was originally introduced. But outside of that, that is basically going to be the Grand Touring RF hardtop. Now let's get into everything I've liked and disliked about this vehicle here over the last week. which some of it's going to be completely different from that of the Club that I tested last year because this one has some of those features. But again, there's going to be a couple things that I actually noticed this week that I forgot to mention or did not mention in the video last year. So as usual, starting on my list of likes, the first one has to do with the performance, and no, I'm not necessarily referring to straight line speed. So of course, under the hood, you have that 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder putting out 181 horsepower, 151 pound-feet of torque through the rear wheels, and in this case, a 6-speed manual transmission and limited slip differential. That engine has been tweaked and refined to provide better power delivery and a better torque curve over this current ND generation, but the Miata as a whole has also been continuously improved in terms of its handling, chassis dynamics, the suspension tuning, you have the bracing, all of that has been tweaked to really dial in this vehicle to offer one of the best driver's car and driver experiences currently available on the market. This is about as analog as one can get within an affordable price point, and I really truly do value that about the Miata. If you ask any enthusiasts out there, their first answer that comes to mind in terms of a car that offers that is going to be this vehicle. Now, yes, there's certainly a couple others out there at a variety of price points, but the Miata, being an open air experience certainly is very unique currently on the market, and I do appreciate that. But as Americans start to grow, not only physically, but also in terms of their lifestyle, the 2-seater, small cockpit, just tiny Miata kind of gets a little bit harder to justify, and we're going to touch on that a little bit later in today's video. So moving on to my second like, that has to do with the LED projector headlights and their output, but most specifically with the Grand Touring, you get the adaptive nature, which means they do swivel with the steering wheel, as well as the automatic headlight and the automatic high beam assist functionality as part of the comfort and convenience features added for this over those lesser trim levels. So as I said last year, the LED projector headlight output in the low beam and the high beam is just fantastic. For a vehicle that has the headlamp assembly barely over 18 inches off the ground, these provide a good amount of forward output and usability on a day-to-day basis. Of course, you get the LED turn signals and daytime running lights integrated all into that housing now for the ND3 refresh. And then, like I said, just having automatic headlights with automatic high beam assist using the cameras up there and the sensors on the windshield just adds that little bit extra comfort and convenience that I would want if I were to purchase a vehicle at nearly the $40,000 price point in which this vehicle comes in equipped at. So overall, LED projector headlights are very good. I like the daytime running light signature, and then you add the automatic function for both the high beam and just the on and off, adds just a little bit more usability. Now moving on to my third like, that is going to be the trunk release button located at the rear of the vehicle, which some other manufacturers with some other sports cars I've tested seemingly have forgotten about. So with the Miata, you have a button cleverly hidden here to the right of the license plate that will pop the trunk and allow you easy access if you have the key fob on you, if the vehicle's unlocked, whatever the situation may be, it just allows for convenient access. Now in addition to this, you have the button to the left of the steering wheel as well as the proximity key fob that you can also use to pop the trunk. But this is just another feature that, again, if I'm living with a vehicle, I want access to the trunk very easily, from the rear, wherever they have to hide the button. So it's nice that Mazda has included that with the Miata. I mentioned that in my video last year, and once again, I've enjoyed using it this week. So moving on to my fourth like, that has to be with the dual top configurations that one can choose to purchase with the Miata. Now, the Miata has always been known for its easy to lift lower soft top, starting with the NA, NB, and with the NC, they actually introduced a power retractable hard top on select configurations. So at a touch of a button, you could easily lift or lower the top in just 15 to 20 seconds or so, and it gave you still the open air convertible experience. Well, that continued on for the ND with the RF that was introduced just a couple years after launch of this vehicle, and this is more of a Targa top configuration, given that you really just get this portion as an open air experience with the windows down. You also get a window at the rear, but not the whole open air experience that you get, of course, with the soft top, where this entire portion is removed and kind of sitting flat on the rear deck lid. I actually really like the RF in terms of just its overall aesthetic and appearance, because this portion does remain in place, and I think it's just a very handsome looking sports car that screams it's a little bit more expensive than it actually is, although this one at $39,000 isn't cheap by any means. But only takes 13 seconds to power up or down the top, which is easily done at most stoplights, stop signs, rolling up to 6 miles an hour according to Mazda. So if you want to splurge for a little bit of additional money and a little bit of additional kind of comfort and convenience, the RF certainly gives you most of the convertible attributes at a press of a button versus that of the soft top. Now my next like is the 9-speaker Bose premium audio system that comes on select configurations of Club and Grand Touring. So with the 9-speaker audio system, you get of course an amplified premium upgrade audio over the standard 6-speaker system, which includes speakers located up here behind the driver in the headrest area. This provides a much more well-rounded experience in my opinion, given the sound is coming so close to your actual head and ears that you can hear it at speed. Now of course this audio system gets plenty loud that you could crank it up anyway without those dedicated speakers and it would still obviously sound decent. But you know, with the amplified system, the additional subwoofer and speakers in this vehicle, I think it just makes for a much better, well-rounded experience versus that of a standard non-amplified 6-speaker setup. Now continuing on here on the interior, my next like has to do with this infotainment system, which was updated just a couple model years ago to include wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So I believe the screen is just over 11 inch in size. It does support wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and the main thing I really like about Mazda's infotainment systems is that they're very quick to connect to your phone for Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. And although some people might not like the fact that it's not a touchscreen with their own UI, it is a touchscreen for Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. You have to use this multimedia controller here in the center console, but I don't find that to be a detriment given your hand and palm rests right in this vicinity anyway, and you don't really have anywhere else to rest it. So, you know, I think all in all, the fact it's very quick, it's very responsive, supports all the features it does is really a positive attribute. It's very easy to control. It works decently well with Android Auto and scrolling and navigating, and the volume knob's located down there all in all. So really, I don't have any complaints. The infotainment system works very well, and it is very easy to reach because this cockpit is so small. So moving on to my last like, that is going to be with the 6-speed manual transmission, which is arguably the only transmission that one should consider with a Miata, but they do offer a 6-speed torque converted automatic for those that don't want or can't drive manual transmission. So this is very easy to drive and live with on a daily basis. The clutch itself is a perfect weight. It's not too hard, it's not too firm, not too light either. It has a good pickup in where the clutch actually engages in the pedal travel, and the actual transmission shifts extremely smooth. So you can see the gears aren't super close together. It is a shorter throw transmission, but it's not so short that to me it becomes a drawback or a negative. I like a transmission and a gear shift with a little bit of throw to it, and this is about ideal in what I would consider, you know, if I were to purchase a manual transmission vehicle. Now I guess because this is the Grand Touring trim level, which adds all the features and creature comforts that's currently available on the Miata, I do have to add this in as a like, but it's going to be the automatic headlights, the automatic rain sense wipers, the automatic high beam assist over here. You have automatic climate control, which is you know, a thing I've used on and off throughout this week, and you do have the auto dimming interior mirror with garage home link and auto dimming side mirror, so if you're driving this at night you don't get blinded here via this mirror. So all of those features combined, in addition to a couple of other things, really make this for the most livable version of the Miata. So that's gonna do it here for all my likes with the ND3 Grand Touring RF. Now let's get to the things that I didn't love so much about it over the last 6 days. Oh man. So starting out my first dislike with this vehicle, it's gonna be a few different things all in one. It's gonna be basically the ingress and egress and the fact that you cannot raise and or lower the hardtop from the proximity key fob. So there are a couple vehicles out there on the market, C8 Corvette being one of them, that you can actually lower the convertible hardtop using the key fob, which just allows you to vent it or have easier ingress and egress. Whatever the reason may be, you do have remote control of the hardtop. Now with the Miata, unfortunately you don't have that, and because I have spinal fusion, my back is mostly fused, I have very limited mobility when it comes to flexibility outside of my neck and very low lumbar spine. So getting in and out of this vehicle with the hardtop up, as you can see, becomes a slight issue. So getting in, basically I contact my head right here, and I do have to use all of the motion of my neck to basically barely scrape by every single time I want to get inside of the Miata with the hardtop raised. Now, of course, when you put the top down, only takes about 13 seconds. You have unlimited headspace, so that becomes a non-issue at this point. And outside of being a low-slung sports car, getting in and out really isn't all that bad because I have unlimited headroom. So that is basically going to be one of the biggest dislikes that has to do with a little bit of the Miata and mostly with my situation with my spinal fusion. I just wish they would add remote control via the key fob. Even if you could only lower it down one time and you know, couldn't even raise it back up, that's totally fine, because a lot of people want to just put the top down immediately upon getting in anyway. So the fact you could do that while you're walking up or whatever just would make it that much better. But maybe it has to do with some of the electrical components or the power that requires operation of the top. Nonetheless, that's kind of going to be my first dislike. Now, my second dislike has to do with the seat belt position on my neck and kind of where it comes over my shoulder. Now, again, this might have to do a little bit with my spinal fusion situation, and I don't recall this being as much of an issue last year. The seats themselves are slightly different in the Grand Touring, as they're not the Recaro branded ones with the suede inserts and slightly different bolstering. But this week, I've just had a little bit more contact on my actual skin and neck via the seat belt, which has caused some comfort issues. So again, you'll have to let me know down in the comment section below if there's any difference in terms of the seat position with the Recaros versus the non-Recaros, the seat belt location over your shoulder. I get that my torso is fixed. There's not as much flex as a normal spine out there, so this might put my shoulder position a little bit taller on the seat belt, and maybe this impacts certain body types as well. But I just find the seat belt position, again, coming over your shoulder, not that comfortable, and I've had some severe, you know, irritation on my neck this week. Now, my third dislike has to do with the cup holder situation here on the interior. Now, I get this is a small interior, so there's very limited space to have cup holders, and Mazda's come up with this fairly clever system where you can actually remove all of these brackets and move them around the cabin if you do wish. So I have the one on the passenger side, which is the most ergonomic, easy to reach and easy to get to location, so I like having that one in. But my main issue is these two back here. So you have one on the right, one on the left, and this is basically contacting your elbow either when you're shifting or just want to rest your arm here, basically bumping into it at all times. They shoved it back as far as possible, but still, it's not ideal. And I just don't like this overall situation, in that, you know, these kind of like have nowhere to be put when you do take them out and remove them. You kind of just have to throw them down anywhere inside the vehicle that you can find space for. But again, I complained about this last year, I complained about it now. Don't love the cup holder situation. Now, my next dislike is one that I did technically just mention, but it's the fact that there is no rev match downshifting available in any Miata. Now, I got a bunch of criticism on my video last year that you don't need that feature, do it yourself. This is a manual, you know, driver's car. Yes, I totally understand and I totally get that. But if I'm to buy a manual transmission vehicle to drive on a daily basis, I think that's a must-have feature for me, given I want it to be as relaxing and enjoyable as I want, at least when I want. And you can have a button to enable or disable this. That should not be an issue, but that is a feature that I would want for a manual transmission vehicle, and unfortunately that is not offered in the Miata. Now, next up is a kind of a nitpicky one, but it's the fact that you can't see your digital speed readout here on the analog and partially digital gauge cluster. Now, the Grand Touring does get more functionality for digital sign recognition over here on the left side of the digital display, using the cameras behind the rear view mirror. So I like that. It adds the most available functionality for this cluster. But I find myself with the Miata, you know, having the tachometer in your gear selected in the middle is great, but I find myself struggling to actually see very quickly at a glance what speed I'm actually traveling here on the right side with the analog cluster. So I wish there was a way that they could incorporate either more digital screens, maybe this as a digital screen as well as the one over there, or just the digital speed readout all the way on the left. So at a glance, it's very easy to see what speed you're traveling, as this analog gauge is fine, it works. It's just a little bit on the smaller side and at times a little bit hard to read. So outside of that, that is basically gonna do it here for all of my dislikes with the RF ND3 Grand Touring Miata. As you can see, a handful of things have been resolved and fixed from my complaints of the Club RF last year, and that's just because that this one comes in a slightly lesser price point, but has more creature comforts and amenities versus the Club, which is designed to be more of the raw performance machine, which I totally get. It comes standard with the performance package, the Brembo brakes, the Recaro seats, aero kit, things like that. But a couple of those things, including the aero kit, can be optioned on the Grand Touring if you do wish. And I think this is ultimately the one that I would choose for under $40,000, including destination, as seen here in this video, given it has all of those additional amenities. So basically, with all that being said, that is going to do it here for my walk around, as well as likes and dislikes on the 2025 RF Grand Touring 6-speed manual transmission. If you guys enjoyed this video and or found something helpful, make sure to hit that like button below, subscribe if you haven't already, check out my driving impressions and driving review of the Club RF last year and this Grand Touring this year. you know, let me know what you guys think of the Miata in general down in the comment section below, which trim level you would choose if you were to purchase one. There was a lot of engagement on my video last year. I hope there's a decent amount of engagement this year. And I think I have slightly more positive impressions of this vehicle, having lived with it for a second time for a full week and having the Grand Touring 6-speed manual trim in specific, which is the one that I would personally recommend. But let me know your thoughts on that down in the comment section below. Huge thanks to Mazda for sending this vehicle out for me to test and review. And of course, you guys for watching, and hope to see you guys in the next one.